Hello and welcome to this playthrough of Factorio, where I am building a megabase on Earth. I am using a mod, Cities of Earth, focusing on the Old World Hemisphere. My goal is to reach 10,000 science per minute with a rail-based design. The resources are set to maximum size and density, and biters and pollution are turned off. The mod list is shown in the description, as well as a link to my Twitch channel, High Speed. Please come visit me there. Questions and comments are welcome. Thank you for watching. Getting that unwoven into the fabric of how it works. Ooh, arr. And then they've introduced new surface types. Not types, but textures. So, a lava rock is different than a dirt rock. And so I would have to restructure depending upon which planet you're on. So it gets really complicated. I've got a lot of hours in this mod already, and I'm not that good at it. So it's going to be hard. I'm going to try, but so where I am now is I have to redo my loaders and unloaders. I have over 1,000 stations, and I've gotten this thing has made 10K science. All my research, I was being cutesy, and I built it in the Arabian Peninsula, and I built it all too small, too close. These can each produce 10,000 science per minute if they could get the trains to them. But, as you can see, the purple science has a couple of choke points here for steel, and purple needs 10,000 science, 10,000 purple science needs over 1,000 iron smelters that are 12 beaconed. And it needs over 1,000 steel smelters that are 12 beaconed. So this science build is... I've already moved red and green science out to their own little neighborhood, sector, whatever. So, this is all red-green science, 10,000 science a minute. Works great. All of the sciences get directed here to this research lab facility where they get unloaded and pumped. Problem I've run into is that I used to have a design that was checking each wagon, because I have a unique design here in that I'm not balancing when I come off the wagon. Right? You put a train here, it unloads, and there's a reason for this locomotive here. It's because the 12 beacon, I'm taking advantage of the space between the wagons using that locomotive. So I get a nice 12 beacon without a bunch of pasta, without a bunch of belt weaving and stuff like that. There's no balancer here between this wagon and this wagon. So each of these wagons is an independent column, if you will. And the limiting factor on the size is the belt capacity, right? So plastic outputs two items per event. What is plastic? Plastic is 2 every second. So it fills up this blue belt with just 2 of these. Right? So if we look at per belt, it's getting 3/4 of a belt with just 2 of them. Red circuits, on the other hand, well, red circuits produce slower. And so red circuits, they don't even fill a belt, but they do consume so much copper cable that I only have 2 belts that I can feed it. So the limiting factor on a column size is input-output blue belts. That's why red circuits, I can get 16 of them, and plastic, I can get 2. And right now, I've got a problem in that I used to have a series of combinators for each wagon that told me if the wagon was empty, it would call a train. If all of the chests were ready to load a wagon, it would call a train. So the result was that each train station here was 30 combinators. And that was taking up, here where it says circuit networks, it was taking up 5 ticks out of a max of 17. Once you get to 17, you start losing. Zendros, thank you for the resub. I'm not anywhere near your train, and I really want to shoot a train, but I won't. But I'd like to. I really would, Zendros. For those who don't know, Zendros got under my skin a couple of times with his snarky comments. And he had a train named, and I happened to be near it, so his train's got a little bit of love from a machine gun. So I know every time this train leaves to go provide iron ore to the nuclear processing sites, because a little repair icon shows up down here. Because his train is on the move. It is the best love if you're on the giving side. So what I have to do now is I have to figure out, and I've got this in good shape now. I mean, I'm gonna have to put combinators on each wagon, and that's fine. I'll have 8 combinators plus a combinator or 2 down here, so I'll have 10 or 11 per, which means that I'm going from 32 down to 10. And hopefully that doesn't wreck my UPS. I've got a problem in figuring out how to call a second train, right? Because I want to call a train when when there's room for a train to unload. So in this case, when this happens, at this point, I want to call a train. I want, if any wagon has 3/4, call a train, because the train, there's four chests here, and that means, and a cargo wagon has 4 rows, so I'll be able to unload that train, right? But don't call a train if you can't unload it. We're at an ad break. I'm going to hold off on talking now. So this is Verk. Welcome. I need to make it wagon sensitive. Because I've got this situation. What I was doing, my compromise was to check only the first wagon. I was checking these 4. But here I've got a situation where, could you just set train limit 2 and that would have a second train called ahead? Yeah, if I set the train limit to 2, I got to set it dynamically though, because all these trains are called dynamically. I don't physically set the train limit. I have to do it through combinators. Otherwise, I've got 2,000 trains I've got to have, right? Because I've got 1,000 stations right now. So if I hard code a train limit, well, I'm guaranteed to have a fuck ton more trains than I need. So I need to find a solution for me that lets me have dynamic trains flexibly without a ton of combinators. Because the other system I had worked. I mean, this thing, what I had, I think I already put it back, but let me show you that. That was, I think it was these. Let me put it here where it's going to be easier to see. So this design works. It uses a lot of combinators. It sets a flag D, if it's can load one wagon. E, if it could unload one wagon. E, if it could unload two wagons. And then these two things, D and E here, said if there's anybody D, get a train. If there's anybody E, get a train. Then those become additive, so it would get two trains. The other combinators did stack sizing stuff. And then on the loader side, F and G said if these could load a train, raise the F flag. If these could load a second train, raise the G flag. And then these two combinators said if all of these said I can load a train, load a wagon, then call a train. And this one said if all of these could load two trains, then call two trains. So I had a system that worked. It's just that this is 28, 29, 30 combinators. 30 combinators per station, 1,000 stations. I was killing myself. The UPS went to 40. So I'm trying to find a mid-ground, right? Because this isn't working. Because wagon 7 is empty because of a supply problem with plastic. And that means that wagon 7 here never loads, which means that it never calls a train to be loaded, which means I've got a deadlock. Because it won't call a train to unload more resources because the first one's still full. And the first one here is not full. Or if it is full, it'll call a train, but that train is set to stay until full. And the train is never going to be full. I could add timers to the train stuff, but I've got a basic fundamental problem is that I don't know that the wagon 7 is broken. And that's column 7 is broken. The only way to know that is to ask each wagon, each unloading station, if you will, are you good? Are you good? Are you good? And then add all that up, and I can't just look at the total number of resources. So I figured out this flag system with like BCD, ABCD, that sort of thing. I'm not really happy with how this is, or the naming conventions or stuff like that. And I've changed it a couple dozen times already. But what I know is that this does work at a single train level. And I've got this volume too high for me, sorry. So I can call one train with this setup. I'm just going to go with simple here. The challenge is, how do I call a second train? And for those who have been here for a little while, it's like, dude, you're changing the shit again? Yes, this is what I do. I fiddle. Usually when I'm trying to figure something out, it's like a spinner toy. Me changing something that I've already changed, and I'm going to change it again, is like me spinning a little spinner toy. And I'm putting a value here on these things, even though I know I'm not going to use it, but it lets me see something that I can maybe see something else. I may not be moving towards my goal, but I'm moving. I'm spinning that little fidget spinner in the hopes that an idea rolls into my head. And I go, okay, well, let me try this. And, I stumble towards a result. I don't necessarily go there. So changing something and then changing it back helps me clarify, I want this, I don't want that. Yes, as Edison said, I've found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Well, in this case, I've found 1,000 ways how not to make a MegaBase. So rather than beat myself up about that, I'm going to move down here to the loader where it's pretty obvious. It's a little more obvious. So right now, I don't have this. I'm going to output this onto a green wire. And then I'm going to bring this green wire over here. I'm going to get a copy of this so that I can propagate it. Mike, you never told me how your stream was going. When? You probably already fucked off to go get food or something. So now on here, I'm going to have, under 1, I'll have 7,000. But we know that train 7 is broken. So 7 has a value of 6,500. Fantastic. By the way, if you're resource sensitive, here, let me do it this way. I'm just going to move these over here. I don't want to hurt somebody. Apparently this just shooting it with a rocket bothers people, so I won't do that right now. Although that's how I usually deal with resources, is I just shoot them. So this should get me that. Oh yeah, I got to put that green wire on there. I can't just copy paste because I put the name on there. Or the label. So now I should have, yeah. So in this case, what I want to know is if any of these are above, no, if all of these are above 8,000, call a train. And I call a train by putting I equal to 1. And so now for testing purposes, I know that I have a 6.5. So I'm going to put this to 6,000. And now I get nothing. Because I don't know why. 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. Oh, there's no 2. Oh, because 2 is at 0. That's right. So you're still not going to call a train. Oh, because 200 is on there as well. Yeah, these 2 are on there. So that's never going to work. Well, do I need you connected? Do I even need you? Ooh, and you're freaking out on me too. Oh, because you put I on the network and then you immediately fail. Picker dollies for the win. And then Silent Storms wire disconnect mod. I disconnected a little too much there. Well, let's just test it with 1 and 2. So you have 4,000 in you, which is half, which is when I should call a train, right? Because a train full of red circuits looks like what? Each wagon can hold 8,000. Okay, so no, you should call a train at... Well, you should call a train when you can get 8,000. But that's 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 in a chest, but I've got 4 of them. So 8,000 divided by 4 is 2,000. So you should call a train when you have 2,000 in you. And you should call a second train when you have 4,000 in you. So if everything is greater than or equal to 2,000, then you should call a train. Now you're going to have a red wire on there, so your input is a red wire. And then you'll... What's on here? 1 and 2. So why are you flickering? Oh, because I've got green wire connected there. So that works correctly. And then if I build another one of you, and I hook you up, but if I say instead of 2,000 here, I say 4,000, you're going to output, and you're going to output, and then I wire these two greens together, and then I put you on the pole, and then I put you to the station. You're saying that you've got I have 2, set train limit. This is broken, right? Good. I need this broken too. Go tear that out. Cement names. I don't. Well, I have color concrete. It's color coding plus. It's a mod. If you hit exclamation point mods, you can see I very much like my color concrete. It's very nice. I mark my train stations and all that stuff. And I see where I've missed a few here. Thought I had these already done. There are lots of different colors available. Colored concrete, refined concrete, concrete, brick, walls, lamps. Look at all the gorgeous, delicious flavors. Tasty. Anyhow, more water. So I'm pretty happy with this solution here. You don't need to be here anymore at all. But you can't, but you can be on the green wire. I'm not using you. So that's I have 2 because this is really full. And now and I have 1. And then if I take some away again, it goes to an I have 0. Now I have this lamp, which I no longer have room to put anywhere, still, unfortunately. Might as well be fancy. I mean, why not? All right, so some of you are very unhappy. For testing purposes, we're going to set this at 1,000 and at, well, one of you is empty? Who's not here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is empty. Because I connected that wrong. 6 is at, well, why are you at 8,000? Oh, yeah, you would be. Why is there 8,000 on here, though? I must have one of you connected directly. Oh, I must have connected a wire directly across. Yeah, you don't go there, you go here. There we go. So, for testing purposes, rather than jerk around with a bunch of inventory, 1,000 and 7,000. No. Yeah, 1,000 and 1,500. So 1,000, one light turns on. 1,500, two lights turn on. So that's enough to call one train. Oh, but yeah, because I'm assuming that this is going across. I emptied you out for testing purposes. Good. Because across 4 of these chests, that will load a train. Now, back to this. So that satisfies the loader in a nice, efficient way, and it's only 11 combinators, but this one's just really for the light and for the show. And no other things are connected. Because my old one, all of these were filter inserters that were set by the combinator, and all of these were, well, these weren't balanced, but yeah. So now those are hard-coded. So back to this. How do I tell this that I need a second train when those things fall low? Right? Because this has 1,000 in it. it's pretty much empty. And this has 3,000 in it. So if any of these fall below 3,000, I want a train. That's probably not going to get what I want. Yeah, that's output signal 5. Although, to be honest, if I use the cap that was suggested earlier, that would solve that problem. But really what I care about is anything. If there's nothing else on here, if I can keep this pure and clean, I'm going to separate this for the moment. You're about to run out. Yeah, well, I need you to stop doing that because I need to control you. So if anybody is less than 1,000, then request a train. Or 3,000. Less than 1,000, request a train. What if you're less than 100, then request a train? I don't get a train. That's what I want. Now I get a train. Good. Squid Coder, thank you for the follow. And for being a follower, you get your name on a cargo wagon. You are on a cargo wagon for copper over here in France. Make sure you visit Disney World. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for that raid on behalf of Reaper. Oh, well. I like raiding people. As a squid coder, I assume that you write software. So, yeah. Ah. Well, I used to be somewhat of a professional myself. And starting next month, I'll be applying for jobs again, so I might be a professional again. Because much as I love streaming, not quite paying the bills. So I'm going to have to get a gerb. But it was worth a try. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to keep doing it in the evenings. Factory graphs. So we're going to bring red up to here. Don't really like this song. So we're going to do like we did over there and bring along the red wire. Red wire, red wire. It's 10 o'clock already? Damn it. I'm still having fun. I don't want to go to bed. That was the wrong thing. So, now I have a bunch of numbers on here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah, that's right. Don't really want to use letters there. I'd be happy to use the numbers again. But it helps me to distinguish between loader and unloader. But do I care? Do I even care? I mean, I use the orientation to tell me whether it's a loader or an unloader. If I lie to myself. Well, I'm good at lying to myself. Ha, fooled ya, as Buddy Hackett's joke goes. Steady waves. That means it's probably not getting supplied. For example, if I go look at science here and I go back to when I had something working, so if you look at this where they're falling apart, I'm running out of resources. Running out of resources. So these ups and downs are when I don't have enough resources to supply it. If it's working, it looks like that. If it's not working, well, this is low demand, but yeah. So this is an example of it's not getting enough resources. Got so excited, huh? See what I did there? Anyhow, if you're seeing cycles of production, it means that it's getting insufficient supplies. When the train comes in and unloads, it does stuff. When the train runs out, so it needs another train or it needs a better supply. 300. I actually want to call a train at 3,000 and 2,000. All right, so now I'm going to have to change this so that it's 300 and 200 for testing. So I got one lamp. That's exactly how I want it to work, and that's pretty simple. This is spot on, and it's quite simple. Oh, 12. How did I get to? Oh, I grabbed some of those. Okay. All right, so this is 8, 9, 10, 11. And this is 11. Well, 11 is better than 30. But even if we take away the balancer combinators, which we're not doing anymore, and we take away the calculation combinators, and we hard code things, which I don't want to do, we would have been at 16, 18, 20. So we're cutting it in half. That was weird. So now I'm going to have to figure out how to migrate this. And then I'm going to have to see when I turn it on how much circuit update. Well, see, we're already up to 1.1. We were at 1.0 before I started working on this. So, yeah. But I think that's the best I'm going to do. Yeah. So If this is what I had, how would I migrate to it? First, I'd have to remove all of the circuit conditions. I got to deal with the... These are different, well, summon 1 at 3,000, summon 2 at 2,000, and that's for singles. First is at 3,000, second is at 2,000. Stack size of 200. Well, the first is obviously going to be at 6,000. Second will be at 4,000. Maybe. $50. First at 1,500. Second at 1,000. Or 750. No, 1,000. I gotta check that. And if it's 10, first is at 300. Second is at 200. Hey, kitty cat. Colonel well, first of all, welcome. Hello. You were streaming earlier. I've been enjoying your 2.0 stuff. I am trying to figure out my circuits again. I have found a problem. I found a solution to my unbalanced belt unloading problem. Let me finish capturing this thought. Remove the belts, yeah. No, but using belts, with belts, what I found, let me turn this down a bit. So what I found is that because I am always unloading from the inside lane, what happened is that I developed a pattern where the inside lane was always the one that was missing. So if I ensure that the belts turn in the correct direction, whereas the ones that are loading from the left side of the assembler are always turning to the outside, then this one little side load fixes the problem of these belts not being full. And so it alternates outside, inside, outside, inside. And I've always got full belts down at my train, or at my assemblers. I'm very happy with that solution. As for the UPS problem, I'm trying to figure out combinators again for how to call a train, because I am using belts, and I don't want to use... Hi, kitty cat. I don't want to use a big balancer for when I unload the belts. I'm treating them as individual columns. per wagon, then I need a way to tell when a train needs to come for unloading or loading. And I think not even 15 minutes ago, I finally figured out a simple solution. Only uses 10 combinators per thing, and considering I have 1,000 stations, before my circuit networks were at 5. So I'm hoping that if I implement this across my 1,000 stations. Yeah, well, I had 2 per station. And it wasn't working because it created this deadlock situation where one of the wagons didn't unload correctly, and so the loading never happened. So all my testing has proven. Yes. Well, I can't go across all of my chests, though, because that's connecting a bunch of entities into the network. And I have to look per wagon, because, like, these two never mix. So what I have here is a situation where, and I'm simulating it a bit, for whatever reason, at the plastic supply, this wagon here didn't get loaded correctly, didn't fully load, or it didn't fully unload. I don't know why, but for reasons I don't quite understand, I tried just off the first wagon, and it created a situation where the first wagon was fully satisfied, and so it didn't call a train, and the first wagon was fully satisfied, so it called a train. But the train is set to wait until full cargo. But because the first wagon is independent from the 7th wagon, the 7th wagon would never fill, and so the train would never leave the station. So I had a deadlock in that it wouldn't call a train because the first wagon was satisfied, and the train couldn't leave because that wagon would never fill. So I've had to come up with this alternate solution in lieu of putting a balancer in there. Yeah, and so what I'm going to do is, instead of using 2 combinators per wagon, or 3 rather, because I had to count it, instead of using 3 combinators per wagon, I'll use 10, or per train. I'm going to implement it over the next couple days, and then I'll see how it works. But I'm sure I'm going to get better performance than I did before, because I'm not dynamically setting all of these filter inserters anymore, and I'm not balancing across these inserters. So I'm looking forward to it. And what I'm thinking about right now is, how do I migrate to this from what I have? Because what I have right now is just this with these combinators and this combinator. So I've got the tools. I've done this before. I can just simply do it again. New map. Yeah. Yes, the goal is 10K. I have reached 10K. I know I can do 10K. Hell, I've reached 20K. I know it can do it. The design structure is sound. It's a matter of finding that balance. If I had unlimited UPS, if my computer could handle it, what I had before up here with, 30 combinators per train, this worked, but my computer couldn't keep up with it. But the concepts that I'm using, where I've got individual components, which, by the way, I did eventually condense my green circuits down. So my green circuits, it's a little underserved on the copper cable, but I'm okay with that. So I don't have, Colonel, at your suggestion and ridicule, I no longer put copper cable on a belt, or on a train rather. Yeah, I no longer put copper cable on a train, not for green circuits and not for red circuits. It's now direct as I can do. so it's on a belt. I'm going to get rid of iron sticks soon. So I've been working on this neighborhood concept, if you will, where things are in a neighborhood and they get used. And if I had elevated trains, then this green circuits that come out of here would go straight across to these blue circuits where they're, getting nommed up. So I'm very happy with my design, and I'm super happy with how it's functioning. It's just that I need to work on spacing. I did a couple of dumb things. I put things in too tightly. I should have spread them out more. I eventually moved red and green science. Yeah. I will say, though, elevated trains take about 3 times more space, though, right? Because that ramp is, what, 8 tiles long or something like that? So doing a 4-way like this, it's going to be a big bitch. So, yeah, well, mine's not, but then again, I made it way too big. So there was no reason for me to try and squeeze all this into Arabia, and I did, and it's damn dumb. And I'm seriously thinking of biting the bullet and taking purple, and it's 1,054 smelters and 1,054 steel, or 1,064, and just moving them out here somewhere, or out here, but whew, that was just stupid. Squeezing it in like this, because this gets traffic jammed all the time. Well, you can scale the map. Cities of Earth, first off, you can turn off the teleporters if you don't like them. But you can scale the map. This is a world size, I think, 3. I scaled it to 3. But there is just a European map. If you want to do just Europe, you can choose just Europe, and then you can scale it to like 5. Right? And it's going to be massive. And then decide if 5 is going to be big enough for you. But, yeah. And choose what city. If you choose the European map, you get like 48 different cities, which is, if you turn off the teleporters, doesn't matter. But each one of them is the capital of the state, or of the country, where it is. So, I did my best to make it fun. So in this case, I've got a couple things I have to do. I have to redo all of these stations, which I'm geared up for anyways. And then I've already done some refactoring. Yeah. I've already done some refactoring to clear up and to make these intersection spaces longer. And then I'm gonna have to move all of these